Hi, my name is Lisa Blummer, and I'm an associate director at Easy. At the Easy board meeting in November, I presented information about the STEP contract that Easy holds and is available for all of our 28 districts to participate in. Currently, right now, we have 7 districts that participate in the STEP program, and those are Charleston, Neoga, Arcola, Paris, Altamont, Teutopolis, and Effingham. So I'm going to run through a few of the slides just to highlight this awesome program. So it stands for Secondary Transitional Experience Program, and it's a work experience program that helps students with disabilities prepare to transition to employment and community participation during and after high school. So, kind of like your work co op programs that some of you may have in your districts already, this is more geared towards those students with disabilities and 504s that may need a little extra guidance and a little extra help. So there's a grant through the state and federal funded as well that allows us to provide STEP and allows Easy, who holds the contract, to partner with the Illinois Department of Rehabilitation's office. We work together to assist the student to deliver STEP services so that they can have a smooth transition from high school to adult services when they graduate. What students are eligible for STEP? There is an eligibility piece to STEP, and Easy's coordinator, who will be in the district doing some of these services, they don't have that responsibility of actually saying, yes, a student is eligible or no, they're not. That is up to the Illinois Department of Rehabilitation counselor who would be assigned to the district depending on your county. So yes, there is an eligibility component, but basically it's for any transition age students, typically 16 years or older, that has a documented disability. So that, like I said earlier, can be a IEP or a 504 and can be eventually competitively employed in the community. So we want to get them to the point where they can be out on their own, earning money essentially, and even credit for high school. So our contract has 2 components. We have pre-employment services and we have work-based learning. These components are how Easy gets paid and then is distributed to those districts that utilize STEP. So the pre-employment services, these are kind of like our foundational skills, our, if you want to refer to them maybe as soft skills. They are counseling on post-secondary education, job exploration counseling, work-based learning experiences, workplace readiness training, and instruction and self-advocacy. So those are all pieces to the STEP contract that we as Easy coordinator would work on, as well as the Illinois Department of Rehabilitation counselor that comes in would be working on some of those as well. The other component is work-based learning, and this is exactly what it is. It's work-based learning experiences in the community that the employer pays the student. Then they also can get, like I said earlier, high school credit in addition to that. And both of these components generate funds, and that's kind of, why it's a contract and why, it's available for you guys to hop on and participate in and maybe have that service in your district, but not necessarily pay, for a full tuition to have a full-time or a part-time person in your building. It would kind of defer some of those costs. And in this slide here, it talks about the breakdown. We'll talk about the breakdown here of how it's paid out. So as I stated earlier, there's 2 different components. There's a STEP performance outcome and there's pre-employment services, or those foundational skills. So when a student works, I'm going to go back to this slide here towards the bottom. When a student works 240 hours and 60 working days, it's called an outcome. It's a performance outcome. And $3,400 is generated for any student or each student per calendar year that works that amount. So that's a piece of the contract. The other piece is the pre-employment services. So if you notice here, each pre-employment service that I went over on the last slide has a money amount generated on it. And so when a student is worked on with, let's say, counseling on post-secondary education, we would get $50 generated for that student. If we're working on job exploration counseling, we get 125, and so on. And so if you see here, the potential amount earned per student per calendar year for those pre-employment services is $600. In addition to, they also can earn that STEP performance at the top there, the 3,400. So a total possibility of each student who is eligible for STEP and has met this criteria could potentially earn or generate $4,000 for the grant, which would go back to, which would come to Easy and then disperse to you guys who utilize STEP. Here is, we might need to have some more discussion if you guys are seriously thinking about jumping on board with STEP, but I just kind of wanted to showcase the service options of what we have available. So there's some districts that have a full-time coordinator, and those duties in those districts might look a little different than somebody who maybe is just in a building a quarter of a time. So typically a full-time person would be there 4 to 5 days a week, and a quarter time would be just 1 day a week. So depending on the size of your district, maybe the caseload and what students you have, right now at some of those ages, that 15, 16 age, we can kind of talk about that to see, what would meet your needs the best when we have those discussions. And the Easy coordinator, so whoever would be assigned to your district if you would be interested in STEP, these service options here, these bullet points, would be dependent on the service option that you guys choose or did choose back here, whether that's full-time, three-quarter, half-time, or a quarter time. So these are just, it's not an exhaustive list, but it's just some bullet points here on typically the options, or the duties that are performed from our Easy coordinator. So we can teach some specialized voc ed classes. So typically probably those service options that are full-time, quarter time, and maybe even half-time, we could coordinate a few days a week where we could come in and do some specialized voc ed classes where our person would teach those classes to the STEP eligible, or maybe just those that maybe are not quite STEP eligible, but maybe are, not quite of age or whatever, still can be in those classes. They also can refer students for STEP eligibility, so trying to get students in the program. Explore, coordinate, and monitor training placement, so trying to figure out what in your community, is out there and available, and trying to get students hooked up with those. Collecting monthly timesheets from students who are placed in paid positions. That's something that is one requirement that the STEP contract wants us to do, is to collect those monthly timesheets and kind of keep track, obviously, on how many hours they're working. We would also assist in organizing visits with the Illinois Department of Rehab counselor, which is through the DOORS office, if you've heard that before. So it allows the DOORS counselor to come in and also work with the student while they're in high school, because if you guys don't have STEP, the DOORS counselor cannot be working with that student in high school. They have to wait until they graduate and into adult services. So this is it kind of allows for a smooth transition to get to know that counselor, and so they can have that support already set up when they graduate. Administer vocational assessments with the student. Coordinate and supervise job shadowing experiences. Coordinate classroom speakers, getting some, different employers come in, maybe just to talk with the students. Attend IEP meetings for those that are eligible for STEP when appropriate. Assisting with transition planning for those eligible for STEP. Completing and submitting that monthly paperwork for the contract. So that's specific to the contract that our person would do, that we have to upload, all of the paperwork, just with anything with the state, to say they've met those pre-employment services, or they've met the job outcome, and so that we can get that money generated back to us. Address and carry out foundational skills to meet STEP contract guidelines. So we have to, make sure we are addressing all of those foundational skills. So our coordinator would keep track of all of that. And then also attending any department meetings that Easy would have once a month. We try to get together as a team once a month and talk about just, current issues that are going on with STEP and transition. So That is it as far as just the basics. If you guys have any questions that you want to reach out to me and maybe talk specifically about as it relates to your district, I encourage you to go ahead and reach out anytime. There's my email and my phone number. And I look forward to hearing from all of you. Thanks.